and we're your hosts. I'm Diane Bortoletto.
And I'm Monique Ciccardo.
Let's do it.
Hello, and welcome to And Away We Go F1 Podcast, a Formula One podcast that goes beyond the track limits to talk about travel, food and lifestyle surrounding the sport. I'm Diane Bortoletto, your pre-Drive to Survive Formula One fan, and I'm back home in Perth.
And I'm Monique Ciccardo, your post-Drive to Survive Formula One fan, and I'm currently sitting in a rainy Stavanger. It's been so nice for a couple of weeks, and I get home and now it's all rainy.
Oh, it's raining here as well. I feel like that Perth and even Margaret River has had an endless summer. Up until 2 weeks ago, I was still swimming in the ocean down south, which is unheard of. And then I had a couple of weeks in Kununurra, right up north in WA for the Ord Valley Muster, which was awesome. And I've come back and the weather's been very mild, and now it feels like proper winter has set in. Well, we are in winter, so.
Sorry. It just makes me laugh so much now every time someone's like, oh, it's so cold. It's winter in Perth. And I'm like, guys, quiet, because I can guarantee you it's warmer in Perth right now than it is in Stavanger, and it's summer in Stavanger. So
it's still 21 degrees.
Yeah. See? My point proven. It's currently 13 degrees in Stavanger. So, anyway, that's fine. It was perfect Formula One watching weather on the weekend. So rain outside, Formula One on the TV, and boy, did we have a race die.
My God, the Spanish Grand Prix did not disappoint. Actually, it did a little bit because it was pretty dull up until the end of the race, besides Kimi Antonelli having a power unit failure midway through the race and having to retire, which I'm glad that was a power unit failure and not a driver error. It's okay. I mean, it's not okay. I mean, Mercedes need to fix their car, but it's...
Yeah, that was 2 weeks in a row for Antonelli. 2 weeks in a row he had a power unit failure. So, Mercedes, what are you doing?
They've got some gremlin in there somewhere that they need to sort out. Besides that, it was a 2-stop race for most drivers.
Except Max Verstappen.
Yeah, which we will talk about. But just running through the results quickly, Oscar Piastri in the best qualifying we have seen all year, qualifying 2/10 faster than anybody else, which, I mean, let's get this in perspective, 2/10.
It sounds like nothing.
Probably takes us longer to blink, but qualifying by 2/10, which is the biggest margin of the season. So from pole position, Lando Norris was qualified second, Max Verstappen in third, George Russell in fourth, Lewis Hamilton fifth, Kimi Antonelli sixth, Charles Leclerc in seventh, Pierre Gasly eighth, Isaac Hadjar and the Racing Bulls in ninth, and Fernando Alonso qualified in the top 10.
I'm going to interrupt this here and just say the only reason that Charles Leclerc was in seventh was because he only did one run in Q3 because he wanted to save his tyres. He wanted a nice new pair of tyres for the race. Leclerc's qualifying position was not representative of his skill or time.
He made a strategic decision, exactly right, to save his tyres for the race. After quali, which was a good quali, it was good to watch. The race itself, oh man, look, it is late in Australia. It's late in Perth. It's lights out at 9 p.m, which doesn't sound that late, but by the time you're midway through the race,
it's 10 or 11.
So I did have a little cat nap on the couch midway through the race and woke up and thought, no, nothing really has changed a whole lot. And then heard Crofty's voice go up and yes, absolutely. The end of the race was the most exciting Formula One action pretty much we've seen all year.
I think so too. I mean, the race is on a normal time for me. Lights out is at 3 p.m. But I still napped during the race again because it was just
not very exciting.
No, the opening few laps, that was exciting. It's always exciting when they're coming off the grid and going hell for leather for the first corner. Like, that's always exciting because people are side by side, people are trying to overtake. Yeah. That was great.
But then when they're always the best,
Yeah. When they fell into the rhythm of things, it was snooze fest. Obviously, Antonelli, DNF. he had, I think it was lap 55 in my notes. Yes, lap 55 of a 66 lap race. He had an engine failure, which then brought out the full safety car, which then caused a chain reaction of pit stops to pit and change tyres. Love. Max Verstappen was the only one on a 3-stop strategy. Well, the only one in the kind of top 10 that was on a 3-stop strategy. And he was making it work. I mean, he was racing up in third. He was sitting behind Norris for most of the race. But because he'd chosen the 3-stop strategy, by the time the safety car came out, all he had left was hards.
He went on to hard tyres, which that did not suit that circuit at all. No one else used hard tyres through the whole race. He was the only one. And he almost had an off when the safety car. So the safety car probably had a couple laps longer than what we would have expected because the back markers had to get unlapped. So we had to wait for that. And then when they got started again, on those hards, you saw Max almost have that off. That could have been, he did really well to hang on to it. And then a little nudge with Charles Leclerc, which was probably Charles' fault.
I'm going to say racing incidents. It was a racing incident. Like it was.
It was little. And then with George Russell, his best mate, wow. I mean, everyone would have seen this by now. You would have seen clips on social media of that by now. Max was told to give the place back to George when really he didn't need to. And the FIA has come out and said in their statement that we wouldn't have made Max give that position back. So Max he was angry for hard tyres. He was angry from having that near off where I think he thought that he'd been rammed by somebody or something.
He did.
He was saying, Charles hit me, he's hit me, when he hadn't. And then they had that little nudge side by side moments later. And then they thought that he'd gained a track position, gone off and gained a track position, which in fact he hadn't. So his race engineer had told him to give the place back to George. Max was fuming by that point, absolutely fuming, and slowed down to give the place back to George. George went to overtake him around a corner and then Max sped up and crashed into him. And it was 100% intentional. And I just love that this week we had Nico Rosberg on the Sky feed commentating.
Yes, I didn't, but yes, continue on.
And what I really love about Nico Rosberg, because he's a recent Formula One world champion as well, he can give a lot of great insight. But he's also not Team Lando, like all the other British commentators are on the Sky feed.
I have something to say about that in a second, actually, but continue on.
Oh, go on.
I never really noticed it with the commentators on F1 TV until this week when they had the restart and they were banging on about Lando's chances and how if, Piastri makes a mistake, it could be Lando and Lando this and Lando that. And I was like, guys, Piastri's out in front. Can't you talk about how wonderfully he's doing?
Exactly.
It was just, so I did notice it this week. Yeah.
It's infuriating to hear that bias from the commentators. I mean, we're biased, but we're podcasters. We can be biased. They're commentating around the world, but Nico Rosberg came out and he said that should have been a black flag. That was intentional. That's dangerous. About Max's intentional crashing into George Russell. And then in the post-race interviews, Max was just seething as well. And, the other thing I'm really tired of hearing from commentary is we know what Max is like. I don't care what Max is like. Rein in your anger. Stop being a petulant, bratty, spoiled, entitled, dangerous driver and play by the rules like everybody else.
Yeah. It's one thing to be angry and to have emotion and to show emotion and to verbalize that. That's fine. We all have emotion. We love
the passion. We as viewers, we love seeing that, right?
Absolutely. But as soon as that boils over into physical anger, which I'm going to call his intentional crash into George as physical anger, because it was a physical action. That's that's it. No, naughty. Slap the hand away. Bad. We don't do that because that that can cause serious repercussions. Words, yeah, they hurt, whatever. You get over it. Water off a duck's back.
Yeah. But you know what? Max wasn't privy to know what was happening with Russell's car. If Russell had some sort of issue with his car, that kind of nudge could have done something and sent him into the gravel and sideways into the wall. You don't know. Like, it could have been way more serious. It's just lucky that they were both able to, or lucky that George was able to finish the race. Without any damage. As a result, he could have taken him out and ruined his whole race. I agree with Nico Rosberg that should have been a black flag. And a black flag means immediate disqualification, go straight to the pits, do not pass go, do not collect $200, get off the track, you're out. And that's what I think should have happened. There is no place for intentional accidents in Formula One. It's unsportsmanlike, and Max Verstappen is the epitome for not being a sportsman when it comes to Formula One.
Anything that he thinks is an injustice to him, and you could hear him on the radio too, because he knew he was on hard tyres and he knew he was going to have a hard time of it. The number of things he was radioing in, trying to get other drivers in trouble or to get penalties. And it all came and bit him in the bum because he intentionally crashed into George Russell. If he had just given that place back, even if it wasn't right, then he potentially could have overtaken George again. Or if he had just given that place back, he would have got 5th position. But because he was being a petulant child, he got a 10-second penalty, which dropped him down to 10th, which means he only got 1 point, which means this race...
No, he's got a 3-point penalty as well.
Well, yeah. But in the race, he only got 1 point. He only got 1 point, which means for this race, Red Bull only collected 1 point, which has dropped them 2 spots down the Constructors' Championship. Well, it's dropped him to 4th in the Constructors' Championship. Like you said, he ended up with a 3-point penalty on his driver's license, which means he now has 11 points out of the possible 12. And as soon as he hit 12, it's an immediate disqualification for the next race. So when's that going to happen? I have a question for you about this. Because it was Max and George, are we going to see a repeat of the end of 2024's beef? What do you reckon?
I think this beef is continuing on from 2024. Like, I think Max and George have just never, ever made up. I think they hate each other. And there's a fierce rivalry there. I think George plays it cool. I think George on the outside, but I think deep down he's got massive issues with Max. And Max has just got issues with anybody that doesn't do what he wants his way. I think Max is probably quicker to forgive people as well and forget and move on.
He's just hot-headed.
Yeah, he's really hot-headed, yeah. And to me, George is a bit more cool, calm on the exterior, but seething on the inside, and one that I reckon would hold a grudge. That's what I reckon.
Which I almost think is worse, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I feel like Max is definitely, he doesn't like anyone that doesn't do things the way that he wants it, or if things don't go his way, he's going to get angry. But I also think when he's on your side, he is a fierce ally of yours. Because the things that he's said about some of the other drivers who aren't in the greatest positions or are really trying really hard, he's got their backs. And he, except for when he said that, Yuki needs to find his own place in the team or whatever it was, where he wasn't going to help Yuki. But I do think that, he's not all bad. It's just when he does things like this that you're like, oh, come on.
Right, but you're right. He's not all bad, but his bad is really bad. It's at the very end of the spectrum. I still remember when his car, I think it was in 2021 or might have been 2022, his car went over the top of Lewis Hamilton's car. His tyre actually hit Lewis Hamilton's helmet and could have been a total disaster. He got out of his car fuming, having a go, checking. Lewis, oh my God, are you okay? My car flew over the top of you. It could have killed you.
Yeah.
Just walked off. Didn't even, and that vision is always in my head when I think of how Max Verstappen behaves when it comes to being
injustice.
A good sport. Is just not. And we know where he's come from. We know what stock he's come from. And it's still not an excuse. It really isn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think, that was the biggest news, I think, of the race.
There's more news, though.
Oh, well, yes, Oscar Piastri won. So, that's fabulous news.
Exactly.
And yes, I was screaming at the television. I was so excited for him because after Monaco, it wasn't his finest race. And Monaco is obviously notoriously hard to end up in any other position other than what you qualified in. I was very sad for him because Lando Norris, he annoys me so much when he is not winning the race and he thinks that he can win. He's on the radio like, I'm faster than him. Can we pit now? He wants to undercut. He wants to overcut his own teammate. I'm like, you just sounds like a royal a-hole. And that's sneaky and cheeky. And I don't like that. Be a good racer. Don't sit there and be like, oh, I can win if I undercut him. No.
Speaking of cheeky, Lando got provisional pole during quali because he got a toe from Oscar. He snuck in. Talk about cheeky.
Yep. So
I probably wouldn't dislike Lando so much if there wasn't this massive bias towards him in the commentary that we're always hearing here in Australia, which just really turns me off. Like it makes me, it's really off-putting, especially since he's the teammate of our beloved Australian Oscar Piastri.
They did say, which I really liked, on the Formula One TV, they were saying that everyone thought it was going to be Lando's year, but he's obviously being challenged so much by Piastri at the moment, and it's really looking like it's going to be Piastri's year. And I was like, okay, this is nice to hear. I like hearing this.
Well, I called it, and I'm standing by it. Yes.
You did.
Let's hope Oscar keeps going, and I 100% agree with you. It's so nice to see him bounce back and just take the negatives from Monaco and just turn them around, work hard, get his mindset right, and go for it. And he has. It's brilliant.
And as Nicole Piastri, his mother, said on one of his Instagram posts, Oscar, I think we're going to need a bigger trophy cabinet. I think you are, mate. I think you are. I do have another question for you, Di.
Oh,
another question.
Okay.
Because we saw Hamilton qualify in 5th, and then Leclerc was obviously in 7th because he had chosen tyre strategy over track position. Leclerc in the opening lap, he came up and overtook, I think he'd made 2 overtakes in the first lap. He had a really, really good start. So he ended up directly behind Hamilton. And for laps, he was stuck behind Hamilton, and you could see him testing Hamilton. And he was, bless Leclerc, he didn't want to race Hamilton and cause any issues there or cause a crash or, wear out his tyres unnecessarily. But when they got into corners, he was right up Hamilton's butt. And I think that was him sending a message to his team to say, come on, team orders, swap over. But it wasn't happening for quite a few laps. And then the team orders came. So my question is, would you rather be Lewis Hamilton getting those orders to swap places or his race engineer having to give those orders to a 7-time world champion? What position do you think is worse?
I mean, what do you want, the frying pan or the fire? I think I would rather be Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
And have 7 world titles under my belt would be, having to give up a place in a new team. What are we up to? Race 8, brand new car, brand new team, brand new country, brand new everything for Lewis. He is the best there's ever been in Formula One, but he's still adapting and learning. And for some reason, it's a bit like Red Bull, isn't it? Like Charles can drive the Ferrari and Lewis just hasn't got a grip with it yet.
Yeah.
There's moments. We've seen moments where he's done brilliant things.
Consistency is,
Charles has the consistency. Lewis just does not at the moment. Who would you choose to be? What would you rather?
I'm with you. I would rather be Hamilton because, yes, it might hurt. You might get angry. You might get frustrated. But at the end of the day, if you're a good sport and a good racer, you would understand. even if it's not in that moment right then and there, later on you'd look back and go, okay, yeah, he was actually like 1 second quicker than me or however much faster, and that makes sense. Having to be the person to say it, no thank you. Absolutely not, especially when there's already been tension but with their communication, and you would know going into that that he's not going to be happy when you have to say that. So yeah, I would much rather be the receiver than the bearer of the bad news. So,
but one thing we didn't start with, Mon, are 3 words to describe this race.
Oh, 3 words to describe this race. Last minute action. They're my 3 words.
Exactly what it was.
And you?
Oh, I was going to say boring till the end, but that's actually 4 words.
Do you know what? Cut out the boring till end.
Boring till end, yeah.
And before we talk about anything else, we cannot forget Nico Hulkenberg coming in 5th. What a day.
Hulkenberg, what a result for him. I'm so happy. And his teammate,
your cousin,
Gabriel Bortoletto, yes.
1T, not 2.
Qualified in his best quali ever in 12th and finished the race in 12th as well, which is a great result for him.
Yes.
I've seen a lot of chatter online saying people keep forgetting that he won Formula 2 last year and beat all of these other rookies that are on the grid. So, he's a talented driver. He just doesn't have the machine to win, to be fighting at the pointy end.
Exactly.
So, yeah, great result. Really happy for him. And also, got to say, really, 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 really super happy for old boy Fernando Alonso for scoring his first points of the season, who ended up he crossed the line in 10th, but finished in 9th after Max got his penalty.
Yes, because I think it was in the last couple of laps he overtook Lawson. Not going to lie, was really happy about that.
Yeah, I was cheering for that as well, yeah.
That's really awful to say because I never want anyone to do bad, but we've discussed this before, and when you come in so hot-headed and thinking you're the best, you're kind of going to get a little bit of resistance.
Bit of tall poppy syndrome happening with Liam Lawson. I mean, he did come in all hot and arrogant, and even last year when he had those races replacing Daniel Ricciardo, he really annoyed some of the greats on world champions like Fernando Alonso he had beef with and coming out with statements, I'm not here to make friends. He really didn't do himself any favours to be high up on the likeability chart. He just hasn't. Even though he's a neighbour of ours in New Zealand, I was very happy to see Alonso pass him on the track. Lawson can just keep eating humble pie as far as I'm concerned.
I think so, and especially because in this particular race, Lawson was just so aggressive. He was driving aggressively and awfully. He took some late lunges on people, and he caused all that issue when when Norris and Verstappen were coming through to lap him. Lawson thought he was going to get the overtake on Behrman, and he ignored the blue flag trying to get the overtake on Behrman, which then caused like a 3-into-1 kind of position with Norris and Verstappen trying to come through, but Lawson trying to overtake Behrman, and that was dirty. That was him thinking about himself only. Just let them through and then have your business. I wasn't very impressed with him this week or any week, but whatever.
I was going to say this week. Also, I would like to mention Franco Colapinto as well.
Who's Franco Colapinto? Like, he was...
Exactly. He's been very quiet. He qualified dead last. He finished in 15th. There were 2 DNFs. He finished ahead of Esteban Ocon and Oliver Behrman. He's really not getting the results on the board that Alpine had hung their hat on when they kicked out Jack Doohan after 6 races.
And I hold beef with this, not just because Doohan is Australian. Obviously, I hold beef because of that, but because Flavio Briatore says one thing when it comes to Jack Doohan, but then when it comes to Colapinto, he's completely contradicting himself. So he has said, this just makes me so angry. He said the race in Monaco is such an outlier that we don't count that as a race. And then the race before that was his first race in the seat. These were his first races, so we don't count those. He's had 3 races. Jack only got, if we don't count his race at the very end of 2024 last year because he was just in the seat. Like, let's not count that. They only gave Jack 5 races. So that technically, that means Colapinto has another 2 races to show what he's got, which right now hasn't been very good at all.
The thing is that this has never been about driver talent. This is about money. It's about money. We're talking about Flavio here. It's about money. End of the story. So Colapinto's got the money. Colapinto's going to stay in the seat. And I hate to say it, and I hate to see it, and I don't agree with it. And I think it should be Jack's seat.
Yeah.
I think that's just, I just believe that that's the underlying reason for all of it is money.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, it's Flavio Briatore. He doesn't care. He does not care
about rules, talent.
He doesn't care about anything. I didn't see the interviews or the press interviews that he did, but I read about the press interviews that he did, and he completely shut down any single question that they had. He was like, I don't want to talk about this. Like, he was just being so arrogant and rude, and he just does not care. He does not care. And my issue with all of this is that it's about the money. And he completely tries to cover that up by using every other excuse under the sun.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the races were he's only just got in the seat. Oh, Monaco's an outlier. Like, that doesn't count. No. Say it for what it is. You don't care about his talent. You care about the fact that he's bringing money. Say it as it is. You're Italian. That's what they do.
Yeah, I know. He's a piece of work. So anyway, if by some miracle Jack Doohan or anyone from Jack Doohan's family is listening to this podcast, that we feel you, we really don't agree with this, good luck. Let's hope that something bigger, better comes along.
Like a replacement for Flavio.
How is he still in the sport? Jesus.
Should we talk about Barcelona maybe?
Been to Barcelona 4 times.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, quite a few times. Yeah, really, really, really like it as a city. How about you? Have you been?
I went for about half a day before a recent cruise, and I was in, I don't know, they put me up in some weird section of Barcelona that was so far away from everything. And if I wanted to go and look at any of the sites, I had to get a 20-minute Uber out there and then come back to the hotel and then take a 15-minute Uber to the cruise port, which just wasn't going to work with my luggage and all of that sort of stuff. But before we talk about
luggage. Monique does not travel light for anybody listening. She just, yes, not minimalist, maximalist, and totally fine. But yes, traipsing luggage around places is difficult when you're a maximalist.
I was going to say, I did actually see La Sagrada Familia. I hope I said that right.
Yes,
I did actually see that, and I saw it from the plane, which was incredible. So, hot tip. Yeah. This is if the planes all fly in the same direction every single day. But hot tip.
Window seat,
window seat, right-hand side of the plane. I think standing in front of it, you would obviously understand the grandeur and the size and the work that must have gone into this thing.
God,
right?
Yeah, they're still building it, right? Yeah.
But you can see this from the air, which makes it even more incredible to think just how, and like it towers above everything else around it. So to see that, I think really, really puts into perspective just how incredible this building is.
I think that is the number one tourist attraction of Barcelona. Is La Sagrada Familia. Yeah.
For sure.
And that is designed by Antonio Gaudi, who is a very famous designer from that area. And he's got a park. I'm going to butcher this. The Güell? Yeah. Which is just full of these quirky mosaics. He's known for his really sort of gothic, quirky style.
With his designs as well. He doesn't seem to
surrealist.
Yeah, he doesn't like straight edges.
His works look like they could have been drawn for a cartoon. Like they look really otherworldly. Yeah, it's very distinctive as well. His work. So as soon as you see a Gaudi piece, then or building or architecture or park, then sculpture, then it's very easy to pick his other works. And the park is a really must visit. It's absolutely just heaving with tourists all the time. It really is. Every tour bus goes there. It's throngs of tourists. I think Trevi Fountain level of tourists, but it's worth it.
You get a view of the city as well from up there. So
it is really beautiful, very colourful too, all the different mosaics and sculptures and whatnot.
He's also got Casa, I'm going to butcher all these words, Casa Batlló and La Pedrera. So they're another...
I think it says Casa
Batlló, yeah. So they're another two of his kind of famous architectural works, which again are very curvaceous, very cartoon-like, almost looks like... do you know what? That kind of reminds me of the Flintstones. Just like...
Yeah. I was thinking Smurfs. Like that's...
Oh, yeah?
The Smurf cartoons is kind of what, just with kind of like these rounded sort of roofs and the curves and... Yeah.
And is there anywhere else that you would recommend people to go?
Yeah.
I've not seen much of it, so go, hit me with it. Where should I go?
All right. Well, you definitely need to hang on very tightly to your wallets and handbags, but go down La Rambla, which is the main drag of Barcelona. It's got a really big median strip, a pedestrianised median strip. Lots of street artists there, lots of mime artists, places where you can buy flowers, places you can sit and have coffee. But yeah, very busy, and you just need to be careful of your belongings there. And also on La Rambla is one of the best markets I've ever been into.
I love.
But that is like a proper market with deli stands and cheese stands and seafood stands and, all the different Spanish foods, all the Spanish small goods. And yeah, last time I was there, I actually went to Pablo Picasso's house, which is now a bar. So you can go there and have a drink. I don't think we ate. We might have eaten. Can't remember. I would also say don't eat around La Rambla unless you're buying food from the market, because that's amazing, the market. But go outside of that area. It's really touristy, that area. Go outside that area and try to go to places where there's only Spanish-speaking people in there.
Make sure you go somewhere where they don't have the menus in English. If anyone's really interested in the food in Barcelona or the food in Spain in general, one of our, we'll call him a colleague because he's a travel writer, he actually runs food tours through Spain. It's one of his favourite places. So Ben Brownwater.
He's there now. Yeah.
He is. He is in Spain right now. He's been there so many times. So he kind of knows what he's talking about. And if you follow him on social media and watch his stories, the food that he and his partner cook at home, oh my gosh, the most incredible food. So you know that he's going to choose some good places to go. So if you're kind of not sure where to go for food, or you're very interested in traveling Spain and eating lots, give him a follow, check out what he does.
And it's worth noting that Barcelona is the capital of Catalonia, which is a region of Spain, and they very much see themselves as separate to the rest of Spain. It's very much the personality of Catalonia there. So in Catalonia, they have their own language, they have their own flag. They've tried several times to become independent unsuccessfully from Spain. So yes, you will hear people say they're from Catalonia rather than them saying, I'm from Spain. But Barcelona is a great place to visit for any visitor. It's been tricky lately because over-tourism is a big issue, and there's been protests of them saying, tourists go home, and the whole Airbnb phenomenon, which has driven up rents, and there's housing crisis there in Barcelona. So look, it is a tricky one. I don't want to say go to Barcelona, but if you've never been, it is a really great place to go.
We finished our discussion on Barcelona on food, so I'm going to keep that rolling because guess what, Di? I cooked this week.
Oh, you cooked this week. Well done. What was on the menu at your place?
I went for albondingas. Technically, they're part of the whole tapas world, and normally they get made quite small, and albondingas are basically just smoky Spanish meatball. Espen loves well, he's a meat eater. He loves meat and he loves meatballs. And so this is just the perfect recipe. It was actually a recipe from Delicious. I think it was by Matt Preston, of all people. I chose this recipe because A, I knew Espen would love it. B, I actually had time to cook. I'm actually home. I'm not running around like a mad woman trying to get myself organized for the next trip. And it freezes well. So you can make this recipe. I think it takes a little bit of time because the basis of the flavor is really cooked down caramelized onion. So it takes you about 30 to 40 minutes to get this onion to, yeah, right? You cook this onion down so much, but it adds so much flavor to the meatballs themselves. But once you've done that, it really only, I think altogether the recipe might take an hour and a half to do. But once you've made all the meatballs, we're going to eat it again tonight. And then I've got another meal for 2 in the freezer and a singular meal in the freezer. It was a good recipe. Yeah. And you cook it in like this smoky paprika passata with sherry. I love that there's so much sherry in Spanish recipes. And then I served it on a bed of polenta, which isn't technically Spanish, but I had a bag of polenta staring at me from the cupboard that needed to be used. And I love polenta. It was really, really good. But do you know, the other recipe that I love for Spanish week that I didn't cook this time around, but it's another recipe from Delicious, I'm pretty sure. It's not technically a Spanish, like traditional Spanish dish, but oh my God, it is the best. It is a fully roasted chicken stuffed with almost like a risotto. You cook up this chorizo and Pedro Jimenez risotto and stuff the chicken with that and put a whole lot of paprika on the chicken and serve it with blistered tomatoes. Oh, well, it is phenomenal. Again, another one of Espen's favorite dishes because it's got chorizo in it. One of my favorite dishes because I love Pedro Jimenez.
Me too. Not in chicken because I'm vegetarian, but you know,
it's like Christmas cake in a glass, isn't it? It's like having having Christmas cake or Easter buns, all that rich, fruity, spicy. Oh my God, it's amazing. I will probably link the recipe for that in the show notes as well because that is a banging recipe and buying a whole chicken to roast is so cheap.
Well, we've got a break from racing next week. Then they're flying across the world to Canada for the Canadian Grand Prix before having another break and then flying back for Austria. Yeah, not very sustainable Formula One. Please get your calendar better for 2026. But coming up in Canada, Lance Stroll's home race. Oh, we didn't even mention poor Lance Stroll, who withdrew from the race this week because he had to have surgery on his on his wrist that he hurt in 2023 that is giving him grief. So he participated in qualifying and then withdrew. And because he did qualifying, they couldn't replace him with another driver. So we hope Lance has a speedy recovery and he's back driving for Aston Martin in Canada. Predictions, Mon? Canada.
Look, your predictions have been pretty bang on with Ferrari getting back up there. So I am going to be entirely predictable again. And I am going to say Piastri is going to take out the win. And I'm going to put Leclerc in second. And then I'm going to put Norris in third just because I don't want him to get any closer than he already is to Oscar in the World Championship.
Yeah.
But obviously Ferrari have done quite well the last 2 weeks. So I'm going to give them a shot. And yours?
Well, Piastri, of course. I think he's
on fire.
It's his year. Yeah, on fire. It's his year. He's just, everything's just working well for him. And when it's not working well, he comes back and it works well. So I'm going for Oscar again. Ooh, I should have thought about this before asking you, actually. I know who I want to see on the podium. It's really different to who I actually think will be on the podium.
I know, right?
I would love to see Piastri, Leclerc, Hamilton, or Piastri, Leclerc, Antonelli. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be Piastri, Verstappen, Norris. I think Lando, I mean, they've got the car, right? So they've got the car. Anyway, they're my predictions.
Yeah. I'm with you. Well, I said my predictions, but I also can see yours being very true as well, because at the moment, I think we're looking at a battle between Piastri, Norris, Verstappen, and Leclerc. I think they're pretty much the 4 that we're kind of contending. And I mean, you could throw Russell in there as well as the 5th, but he's been a little bit unpredictable. It could be any of the 5.
Well, he's got a 10-point lead over Lando Norris in the driver's standings. So Oscar's on 186, Lando on 176, Max in the Red Bull 137, George in the Mercedes on 111, then Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari on 94, then Lewis Hamilton in 6th in the Ferrari 71. And in the team standings, I mean, it's hard to see anyone but McLaren winning the Constructors' title this year, even though we're still very early on in the season. McLaren, they're on 362 points. And then, not quite 200 points behind, but nearly, is Ferrari on 165. Then Mercedes, just 6 points behind on 159. Then Red Bull on 144. And a bit of a gap. In 5th place is Williams on 54 points. So that's the top 5 in the Constructors right now.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. If you have enjoyed what you've heard, you can leave us a rating or a comment on any of your favorite podcast listening apps, on YouTube, wherever you want to do it. We've also just started adding our full videos to YouTube. If you are interested in watching us, watching our pretty faces talk about Formula One.
John.
But you can obviously, we've got shorts and we've got highlights on there as well. You can also find our shorts and highlights and little video clips on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and TikTok. Leave us comments, likes, whatever you want to there. If you have anything that you'd like to say to us, you can also email us at andawaywegof1podcast@gmail.com.
Thank you, Mon, and thank you so much for having us in your ears. Until next week, and until lights out.
It's lights out and away we go!
And Away We Go podcast is produced by Diane Bortoletto and Monique Ciccato.
Let's do it.